He taught it without apology, and he would say it to your face. If you feel nothing this Lent, it does not mean God has left you. It may mean he has finally trusted you. Padre Pio did not build fragile Catholics. He formed men and women who could stand in silence, in dryness, in confusion, and not run. And if you are over 55, if you have walked with God for decades, if you have buried parents, endured illness, watched the culture change, raised children who made their own choices, then this message is for you, because Lent at this stage of life is not about emotional highs. It is about truth. And truth is not always comforting. Sometimes truth feels like emptiness before it becomes freedom. He would begin bluntly. Stop measuring God by your feelings, because feelings rise and fall like weather, and most souls confuse weather with truth. Padre Pio would say, if you obey only when you feel it, you don't have faith, you have a mood. Every year, Ash Wednesday comes, you go forward, you bow your head, and for a moment, the world disappears. No calendar, no headlines, no noise, just you and the truth that you are not permanent. You hear the words, remember that you are dust. You mean it. You're not playing games. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to be clean before God. You intend to pray more, to fast seriously, to correct that one habit that has followed you for years, and for a few days, maybe even a week, you feel focused, determined, clear. Then something shifts, and this is where the real Lent begins, not on Ash Wednesday, but when the excitement dies and you still have to choose God. The hunger becomes irritation, the extra prayer time becomes distraction. The rosary feels mechanical. You kneel, and instead of peace, you feel tired. Instead of warmth, you feel silence. But silence is not absence. A surgeon is silent when he's doing the deepest work, and God does some of his deepest work in quiet. Sometimes silence is God refusing to entertain you so he can strengthen you, because God does not always speak to comfort you. Sometimes he is quiet to reveal you. In consolation, you see his gifts. In dryness, you see what you're attached to. And that is why the desert is not punishment. It is exposure. It shows you what still owns you. And here is where the lie enters. And here is the mistake that ruins Lent for millions. They treat dryness like a verdict. They feel nothing, so they assume nothing is happening. But dryness is not a verdict. It is training. God is not rewarding you with feelings. He is forming you with faith. It is God stripping the soul of dependence on emotion. The thought whispers, this isn't working. And that whisper has one goal, to make you stop before the grace takes root. Or worse, God is not close to you. Or even worse, at your age, you should be further along than this. If that voice has spoken to you this Lent, write one word, still. Not because you're strong, because you're refusing to be ruled by the lie. Padre Pio would not let that lie breathe because he heard that lie every day in the confessional. A man would kneel down and whisper, Father, I pray, but I feel nothing. I go to Mass, but I'm distracted. I try to fast, but I fail. God must be tired of me. And Padre Pio would not soothe him with sentiment. He would cut straight to the point. Do you think love is proved by warmth or by fidelity? In other words, the weight you feel is not the proof you're abandoned. It may be the proof you're carrying something real. He would say, the moment prayer becomes dry is the moment it becomes pure. Because now you're not praying for a reward. You're praying because God is God. Picture a widow in a quiet kitchen before sunrise. No music, no mood, just a chair, a crucifix, and the weight of life. When she whispers, Jesus, I'm here, and nothing happens on the surface, but she stays, that prayer is gold. Anyone can pray when they feel inspired. Anyone can feel devout when the music is moving and the heart is warm. But to remain kneeling when heaven feels silent, that is mature faith. So here's the test. Do you pray only when you feel close, or do you pray because he is worthy? And maturity is what God asks from seasoned souls. Let me ask you something directly. Are you still showing up? Be honest. When prayer feels dry, do you quit? Or do you stay 5 more minutes? Are you still going to Mass even when it feels routine? Are you still whispering prayers even when your mind wanders? Are you still trying to restrain your tongue even when patience is thin? If the answer is yes, even imperfectly, then listen carefully. That is not weakness. That is evidence. If you're still showing up even imperfectly, type, "I stayed." Most people miss the signs because they're looking for feelings. They want a surge, a warmth, a reassurance. But he taught this with steel. The safest souls are not the ones who feel the most. They're the ones who obey the most. Padre Pio would reveal 3 signs that God is with you this Lent, and none of them look dramatic. In fact, one of them feels like the opposite of God. But if you recognize it, you'll stop panicking and you'll start persevering. The first sign is this: you continue without consolation. You don't feel lifted, you don't feel extraordinary, but you continue. You still fast, even if it irritates you. You still pray, even if it feels empty. You still attend Mass, even if the homily doesn't move you. You show up with bad knees, a tired mind, a list of worries, and you still say, "Lord, I'm here." That is not nothing, that is obedience. That continuation is supernatural. And here is a 30-second practice that trains it. When you don't feel like praying, say one sentence anyway, slowly: "Jesus, I choose you." That one line said in dryness is a weapon, because the enemy can argue with your feelings, but he cannot argue with your choice. If you'll say it tomorrow morning, type, "I choose you." Feelings can lie. Fidelity cannot. Here is a quick examination. When you leave prayer and you felt nothing, do you label it as failure? Or do you label it as obedience? Because heaven counts obedience, not sensation. If you can call it obedience, you just broke the lie. Human nature quits when reward disappears. Human nature seeks comfort. If you are choosing discipline without emotional payoff, grace is operating beneath the surface. It may not feel powerful, but foundations are not dramatic. They are poured underground. So answer this: are you praying for comfort or for God? Padre Pio knew this intimately. He lived through long stretches of spiritual darkness. He carried the wounds of Christ. He endured misunderstanding, physical pain, restrictions from the church itself. Yet he did not abandon fidelity. He would say, "The merit of prayer is not in sweetness, it is in perseverance." So if you feel like you are walking through dust this Lent, but you are still walking, that is the first sign. If that's you, then type "steady" in the comments. And now expect resistance, not from God, from the enemy of your peace. The moment you choose steadiness, a second voice tries to move in. It doesn't shout, it suggests, "You're failing, you're inconsistent, you're wasting your time." That voice is not humility, it's accusation. And accusation always makes you stare at yourself instead of looking at Christ. Padre Pio would say the enemy doesn't need to make you scandalous, only discouraged. Because discouragement doesn't just hurt your feelings, it changes your decisions. But here is a hard truth. If you weren't moving toward God, you wouldn't be under pressure. A drifting soul isn't fought for, a returning soul is. Now the second sign is more uncomfortable because it doesn't flatter you, it exposes you, and exposure is mercy when it leads to repentance. You are more aware of your own sin, not less, more. You notice your impatience more quickly. You hear the sharpness in your tone. You recognize pride rising in conversations. You catch yourself replaying old resentments, and you may think, "I am getting worse." But don't confuse conviction with condemnation. Conviction pulls you toward mercy. Condemnation pushes you toward hiding, and hiding is how sin survives. Bring it into the light, into confession, where it dies. And if you're older, you may be tempted to say, "I should be beyond this by now." But that thought is not holiness, it is pressure. God is not shocked by your repetition. He is honored by your return. If you want mercy this Lent, write mercy, just that word. But consider this carefully. When sunlight enters a room, does it reveal less dust or more? The dust was already there. The light exposes it. If you are more sensitive to your own interior flaws this Lent, that is not regression. That is illumination. If that hit you, don't name your sin. Just write light in the comments. Padre Pio would press hard here, especially with older Catholics who believe they are past serious sin. He would say, age does not remove pride. It refines it. Sometimes pride in later life becomes subtle. It becomes rigidity. It becomes constant correction of others. It becomes cold certainty. It becomes the inability to apologize. So be honest. When was the last time you apologized first? And listen, older pride often hides behind one sentence. That's just how I am. Padre Pio would call that sentence a lock on the soul, because grace cannot enter what you refuse to examine. And when God allows you to see that painfully, He is not humiliating you, He is inviting you deeper. A hardened heart does not notice its own sharp edges. A softened heart does. So if you feel conviction this Lent, not vague guilt, but specific awareness, that is the second sign. God is close enough to correct you. And correction is not rejection. Correction is what a father does when he intends to keep you. Now here is the third sign, and it is the most important. You desire to remain, even in frustration, even in dryness, even in confusion. There is something in you that says, I'm not walking away. You may be disappointed in yourself. You may be tired of repeating confessions. You may be weary of the same struggles surfacing year after year. But you stay. You don't abandon the church. You don't abandon prayer. You don't abandon Christ. That quiet refusal to leave, that is the Holy Spirit. Padre Pio would say, love is not a feeling. It is the decision to stay. When Jesus asked the apostles if they would leave, Peter responded, Lord, to whom shall we go? That is the mark of mature faith. Not that you never struggle, but that you don't leave. You stay when prayer is boring. You stay when family disappoints you. You stay when the body aches. You stay when the culture mocks belief. That staying is not personality, it is grace. If your emotions fluctuate but your will remains, God is not far from you. He is shaping you. Now let's go deeper, because many men and women over 55 carry something heavy into Lent. Disappointment. Disappointment in family. Disappointment in the church. Disappointment in the culture. Disappointment in their own unfinished growth. And disappointment, if not surrendered, becomes quiet bitterness. Padre Pio feared that kind of slow hardening. Let me ask you plainly, is there a name you avoid in prayer? Because the name you refuse to bless is often the chain you refuse to drop. And sometimes you don't even call it unforgiveness. You call it, I'm just protecting myself. But protection can become a prison. Lent is when God asks, gently but firmly, will you let me touch that place? Someone who hurt you decades ago. A child who rejected your counsel, a sibling who betrayed trust, a spouse who never apologized. If that name tightens your chest, Lent is not asking you to pretend the wound didn't exist. It is asking you to release your claim over it, because unforgiveness blocks communion more than weakness ever will. If a name came to mind, don't type the name, type mercy. God's presence is not proven by emotional warmth. It is proven by transformation of the will. So here is a small but serious practice for the rest of this Lent. Tomorrow morning, before your first sip of coffee or tea, don't drink immediately. Hold the cup still for 5 seconds. Feel the warmth in your hands. And say one line, Lord, warm my will, not my feelings. Then take the first sip. That is how you train the soul to choose fidelity over emotion. Then name one weakness honestly, just one. Lord, soften my pride. Lord, restrain my tongue. Lord, heal my resentment. Lord, steady my fear. And at night before bed, place your hand over your heart and ask one question: where did love weaken in me today? Not where you were imperfect, where love cooled. Then surrender it. Don't analyze it for 10 minutes. Don't defend it, just hand it over. The day is done. Let mercy close it and give it a simple bookend. In the morning, I belong to you. At night, I return to you. Same words every day, because the older the soul gets, the more it needs anchors that don't depend on emotion. This is not emotional spirituality. This is disciplined fidelity. And disciplined fidelity attracts grace more reliably than emotional intensity ever will. You may not dream of angels this Lent. You may not feel burning fervor. You may not experience dramatic insight. But if you are persevering without applause from your emotions, if you are seeing your flaws more clearly and bringing them to confession, then do this once this Lent. Confess one sin you always minimize, the one you dress up with excuses. Name it plainly, because what you name Christ can heal. If you are refusing to walk away despite dryness, God is with you, closer than your breath. Padre Pio would not measure your Lent by how inspired you felt. He would measure it by this: did you surrender more control? Did you complain less? Did you apologize faster? Did you swallow one unnecessary criticism? Did you return to prayer even after distraction? Those are not small things. They are signs of grace at work. And listen carefully to this, especially if you are tired. You are not too old to change. That sentence, "I've always been this way," can become a cage. If you are alive, you are not finished. If you are breathing, sanctification is still possible. The devil would rather you become a respectable Catholic who is rigid and unyielding than a humble one who is softening. But God prefers surrender over reputation. So stop asking, "Do I feel God?" Ask instead, "Am I remaining with Him?" If the answer is yes, even trembling, even imperfect, then heaven is closer than you think. This Lent is not about proving yourself. It is about positioning yourself. Now take 10 seconds with me. If you're sitting, let your shoulders drop. If you're standing or walking, slow down your body. Just quiet your mind. Take one slow breath and let it go. And say this in your heart: "Jesus, I will remain." No speeches, no explanations, just that decision. Remain, remain, and don't romanticize it. Remaining is not a feeling, it's a decision you repeat. Remain when prayer is dry. Remain when pride is exposed. Remain when progress feels slow. Remain when old habits resist. Because the desert is not abandonment, it is purification. And Easter joy is not given to those who felt the most. It is given to those who stayed. So decide now, quietly, firmly. Finish this sentence in your own heart. Today, I choose to remain in. Then choose your word and write it below. One word only. No stories, just your word. Hope, patience, mercy, trust, silence, forgiveness. Choose one word. Anchor your will there. And walk the rest of this Lent, not chasing emotion, but guarding allegiance. Padre Pio would tell you without hesitation, the soul that remains, even in darkness, is already held by God. And that is enough. Not because your struggle is small, but because His grip is stronger than your weakness. And if you want one final test of whether God is with you, you didn't click away, you're still listening. That by itself is a sign that grace is pulling you forward.